Very recently, I joined NordPark and Barry's stream alongside Norbert, which was a pretty spicy and heated debate. Nah, just kidding, it was entirely amicable, and I recommend you listen to it if you want to hear two opposing sides not really disagreeing with each other all that much and reaching an understanding, especially because me and Norbert have been arguing about this exact topic for months. There is, on the other hand, something I want to elaborate that I said in that podcast, which was an almost nihilistic attitude I alluded in a few instances in regards to the conversations we as observers and what goes on during a lot of the business decisions that we disagree with. And this is something that I feel like a lot of people wouldn't be able to recognize at first glance, since the entire ethos of my online presence is media discussion. So of course, there's a level of investment in the conversations we have. But when I get down to things, I don't hold the stuff I or really anyone says in that much regard or importance. If you check my Twitter description, it says I share thoughts on other people's hard work despite the fact that I could never do a better job. Now obviously this is mostly meant to be a joke, but there is a lot of truth in what I said. It's the reason why I made a video stating that I don't think it's necessary for creators to listen to criticism all the time. I've seen a lot of reviewers who tend to come with this attitude where they talk down and almost seem like they're educating the creators on how to make a good movie or TV show, when in reality most of them would probably do a worse job, including me. So at the end of the day, I say what I say not out of a sense of authority or importance, but more so out of impulse, because 5 years ago I decided to share my opinions on media as a form of entertainment for myself and others. YouTube and Twitter are platforms that allow me to express how I feel about all sorts of media, be it movie, television show, a video game, and they encourage me to be as true to myself as I want, venting a lot of the frustrations deep inside of me as a result of consuming a lot of media with not many of them succeeding at offering me entertainment value. They are also platforms that give me the opportunity to have fun exchanges with people and resonating with others in terms of how we feel about things. Additionally, while I haven't been watching that many reviewers recently, that isn't to say that I can't enjoy them, and knowing that people can derive entertainment from my opinions further motivates me to share them. But regardless of all of that, I always present one perspective, which is that of someone who wants to consume some good shit. I don't present every single opinion or viewpoint I could have when it comes to a certain topic. For example, 1 month ago, I made a 1-minute video making fun of a translation choice from Crunchyroll subtitles, and while the perspective I was coming from was negative as someone who has a really hard time tolerating unnecessary deviations during localization, I didn't present the fact that whoever wrote those subtitles was probably at a deadline. Maybe there was some kind of language barrier reasoning behind the decision. Maybe it makes more sense to write it that way when attempting to translate the line into something that better resonates with the word choices and linguistics of English-speaking people. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, it's not that detrimental to deviate just a tiny bit, because most people will either overlook it or not even notice it. And while those things don't contribute to my enjoyment, that isn't to say that they're unfounded reasons. In a different context where I'm not talking about my personal experience watching Mononoke, I wouldn't object to that decision. If I'm going to truly object to something, it has to be for a serious reason, like maybe there's some kind of harm or exploitation happening in the process of a business practice. Besides that, if I'm against a certain practice and the topic in question is media consumption, it's usually because I'm coming from the perspective of a viewer. And beyond that, I just don't really care, because that's the thing. Cartoon reviewers, including me, are often accused of taking cartoons too seriously, and it's like, I don't take cartoons as seriously as you might think I do. You know what happens after I upload a review of a series I hate? I move on and do something else. There are other things that go on in my life besides what's on TV. And I understand the cognitive dissonance within a lot of people's minds, since all they see from me is a YouTube channel, but there's more to me than whether or not I like a cartoon like Villainous or Star vs. the Forces of Evil. But a more interesting question would be whether or not there is value in expressing this particular viewpoint, and I would argue that on some level, yes. Now, during that podcast, Norbert and I agreed that there should be some balance between creative freedom and executive meddling, but I also say that this is a sentiment I would carry if I was in the position of a manager working in one of these production companies. When it comes to consumers, I don't think worrying about what's best for the corporation should be much of a concern, largely because, first of all, we don't even know their thought process, strategies, and goals that they have in mind, which they wouldn't even tell us anyway, because that kind of stuff is usually kept to themselves, but also because it's already someone's job to find a balance between what viewers, creators, and executives want out of a piece of media that's being released. Now, I'm not someone who necessarily thinks that public outcry contributes that much to a significant impact a lot of the times, but that isn't to say that it can't. And it's why I encourage people to express what they want out of media. And once we do that, the marketing team of those companies can then gather the data, study it, and see what they can do to capitalize on a potential demand for something. Now, this isn't to say that even when they listen to us, they'll do exactly as we ask, because that's usually not how it works. In fact, being good at marketing isn't so much about giving people what they say that they want, it's usually about recognizing what will get people's attention, whether or not they come out of the experience liking it or not. As long as the money is coming, that's job well done. But even with that, I think the fact that our voice can be heard is already enough reason to be vocal about what they want. Now, if you really want to do that, I would encourage speaking with your wallet, because until they realize that they can't get away with exploiting you by releasing something that you don't even like but you still pay anyway, they're just gonna continue doing that, and it's the reason why I only pay for stuff I like, except for instances where I'm paying for a streaming service and I just so happen to watch something that sucked dick. Now, this in particular is a whole other topic that I don't really want to get into, but the point I'm trying to make is that there is value in expressing your opinions from a consumer viewpoint. That's not to say that it can't be interesting to see people talk about the business side of things. In fact, it can be educational, insightful, and it can even help clarify some business decisions that maybe you found to be confusing. As for me, I'm kind of getting tired of this whole environment of media discussion. It's the reason why you've been seeing less reviews as of recently. It's the reason why, unless I'm retweeting fan art, you likely won't see me talk that much on Twitter. And the amount of patience and interest in exploring what's out has lowered so much that most of what I consume are stuff I already know are good. So if I see a trailer for a live action Tom and Jerry movie and it looks fucking awful, I'm just gonna be like, whatever. It's Hollywood being Hollywood. Anyway, I wonder if Fnac is selling the latest volumes of Eurocamp yet. That's pretty much my mentality now. On a side note, I'm planning on discussing the canonicity of Judgment for my next video, now that I've played Yakuza 7. As for this video, I'm gonna say exactly what I've been preaching since the dawn of my channel. Well, actually, it's not that early, but It's okay to share your opinions on cartoons and the corporations in question. I wouldn't worry too much about being harsh as long as you're not saying anything slanderous, unless it's justified. Don't attack creators. If you want to vent to anyone, at least do it to the corporations. If you want to tag and send emails to official accounts of production companies, whatever, I really don't care. They're probably not even gonna read it anyway, so who gives a shit? And if you really want to push the zeitgeist into something of your liking, you gotta be prepared to grind like hell until your visions influence people into agreeing with you. And then you can collectively share your demand for something that maybe will go in your favor. You never know, but always remember, vote with your wallet.